So if you've been following me, you know that lately I've been really stressing to my people and my followers that we need to start investing. We need to start acquiring assets. And we need to start intentionally thinking about creating generational wealth, right? And if you live in this Boston region, you'll know that the average net worth for the average black family is only $8 compared to the net worth of the average white family in Boston, which is $250,000. Now I wanted to show you guys how the NBA and the economy are very similar. So for those of you that understand the NBA, you understand that, well, the NBA is an association, and under that NBA there's 30 teams, right? There's the Hawks, the Celtics, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Warriors, the Hornets, the Raptors, so on and so forth, right? What's important to take notice about this is that, one, all of these 30 teams are all under the NBA. And two, only one team can win the championship of the NBA. That's what they're all fighting for, is that championship. So, if the Hawks win the championship, that means the Celtics can't win that year. The Lakers didn't win, the Clippers didn't win, the Warriors didn't win, the Hornets didn't win, the Raptors didn't win. No other team won except the Hawks. But if the Lakers win, the Hawks didn't win, the Celtics didn't win, Clippers didn't win, Warriors didn't win. No other team won except the Lakers. So only one team can win the championship at a time every single year, right? And the other feature that I want to tell you guys about the NBA that's very similar to the economy is the fact that the NBA is the association that makes the rules for these players to play in, right? So if the NBA decided to change the 8-second backcourt violation and they wanted to make it a 5-second backcourt violation, that's going to affect all the teams. All 30 teams will now have to adjust their plan, their tempo to accommodate the new 5-second backcourt violation rule. Now, certain teams have a stronger backcourt or faster backcourt. So when John Wall was with Bradley Beal, they were one of the fastest backcourts, right? Which means that they will get past the backcourt quicker than 8 seconds, quicker than 5 seconds. That rule doesn't hurt them as much as it would a slower team. So a team that generally takes 7 seconds on average to move up the backcourt, they're going to need to speed up. They're going to need to change their game plan so that way they don't get 8-second backcourt violations. But the team that's already fast and up-tempo, they don't really need to change much. They're already used to moving up the backcourt faster than 5 seconds. These are pretty much the reasons why I wanted to bring up the NBA, was the fact that one rule that the NBA makes can affect all of these teams, but it will affect each team differently depending on each team's game plan and their strategy, right? The other thing that I wanted to mention about the NBA is that only one team can win the championship, right? And every single year, the Hawks, the performance of each team changes. So one year the Hawks could be doing very well, but during that same year, the Clippers could be doing very poorly. But then the next year, the Clippers could be doing very well, but then the Hawks are doing very poorly. But then the year after that, both the Clippers and the Hawks are doing very well, but only one can win the championship, right? So the economy works in a very similar way. You have the United States, or the global economy, where the NBA is. Now, under this global or United States economy, however you want to look at it, there's several markets, right? The first one is the equities market. This is where you buy stocks, right? And if you buy enough stocks, you can actually end up purchasing the whole business. That's how Warren Buffett has accumulated a lot of businesses under his resume. There's also the bond market. So this is debt. So you can purchase bonds, government bonds, municipal bonds, corporate bonds. This is how you purchase debt. The other type of market that you have is the commodities market. So this is where you purchase cotton, corn. This is also where you purchase certain commodities such as metals, irons, you know. You can also purchase polyester, satin, wheat. You can purchase some of these different commodities, tomatoes, steels. You can purchase them under the commodities market and take advantage of that arbitrage. And like most commodities, there's a finite number of commodities out there in the world. So if you own or monopolize the commodity, you can get a lot of money from it. You also have the real estate market. This is where you purchase properties, multifamily complexes, single complexes, apartment buildings. This is where you can be a landlord. This is where you purchase land. That's the real estate market. Then you also have the forex market, or the currency market. And this is where you buy the currencies of other countries and you take advantage of the fluctuating prices, or you take advantage of the exchange rate. So if I have a euro and I want to take advantage that the fact that the US dollar is very not strong or weak, the US dollar is very weak, and I have a euro, and I could take advantage of that and accumulate a large amount of dollars, wait till the dollar becomes strong again, and then sell the dollars back for euros, right? And then I'll take advantage of that fluctuation in exchange rate prices. So a lot of people do that under the economy. Then there's also the cryptocurrency market, right? We're not really too sure on how the crypto market plays into the big old economy yet. A lot of economists are still trying to figure out what kind of an impact the crypto market will have on the US economy. Now, there's probably a few more other markets that I haven't written down, but this is essentially all the major top markets that wealthy people have created wealth through. And you have the same opportunity to create wealth through these markets as well. And I listed them out because, one, I wanted to compare this to the NBA in terms of structure, right? And I also wanted you guys to see the different opportunities, the different markets that we can get involved in and start investing in to start getting our $8 to closer to the $250,000 worth of net worth that white families have in Boston. Now, the first thing that I talked about when I mentioned the NBA was the fact that only one team can win the championship. And similar, within the global economy or the United States economy, really only one team or one market can win the championship. Now, what's the championship? The championship is beating inflation. Beating the market, beating inflation, which is at 2.5%. You want to beat inflation, so really only one can really beat inflation. Or maybe they all beat inflation, but really only one market dominates the global economy and really beats the rest of the markets, right? What I'm saying is, if you're investing your money, you definitely want to diversify, but each year will differ. Maybe this year, the equities market is what really gave you your best ROI. Or the next year, the commodities market could give you the best ROI. Or the year after that, the Forex market gives you the best ROI, right? It can change every single year the same way. The Hawks can win the championship this year, but then the Celtics win it the next year. Each year, a different team can win the championship. And each year, a different market can beat inflation and also give you the best ROI. The other thing that I was talking about in terms of the NBA was that the NBA is the one that makes the rules. And when they make the rule, it affects all of these teams. But that rule will affect each team differently depending on that team's strategy and how it affects that team's game plan, right? The same goes over here. Now, it's not necessarily the economy that makes the rules, but it is the government of the United States, or the governments of many countries in the world that determine the rules for the economy, the global economy, and the United States economy. Now, speaking for the United States economy, the government of the United States makes the rules, right? So if the government decides to make a rule, it can affect it can affect all of these markets, but it can affect each market differently depending on what the rule is and what the market is and what it is composed of, right? So an example, when the United States government said that banks can no longer invest into stocks, or they can no longer invest money into other public companies, right? That affected the equities market. Why? Banks were one of the biggest investors for other companies' stocks. When in 2008, when they crashed and a lot of banks failed, the government said, all right, you guys can no longer invest into other companies in terms of your portfolio. You can't invest it in other companies and buy shares. That made the equities market go down because now there was less money fluctuating and flowing within the equities market. The banks had to remove it. Where they put it? Into the bond market. They bought more bonds, which means that the bond market went up a bit. They became more favorable. The other thing that I wanted to mention was that every year the winners and the losers change, just like the NBA. The Hawks and the Celtics and the Lakers could be doing very well and being the winners, but the Clippers, the Warriors, and the Hornets could be doing very poorly. Even though only one can win, these three did very well. Same over here. The equities and the commodities and the real estate could be doing very well, but the bond market, the Forex, and the crypto is doing very bad. So each year the winners and the losers change. Now one of the biggest indicators for which market will win the championship, right, or which market will do better, is usually the economic cycle. Economists love to look at the economic cycle to determine or predetermine which of these markets will do well for the following year. The same way, scouts will look at the past performances of these players, these teams. They will look at the current roster. They will look at the current health status of the roster. They will look at how practices are being played to determine or predetermine who will win next year's championship. It's the same thing. Now, granted, these are two different entities, but yet they're similar in ways. And I wanted to share that to you guys so you guys can see investing in a different lens, in a different light. See it in a lens that you're already kind of used to, which is sports, right?